Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I am Subhaman Chattaraj and you are watching Xtropy. So in this video of exponential and logarithmic functions, these are the key points on your screen which we are going to discuss ahead, and these are few of the graphs which we are going to learn ahead. So without any further ado, let's begin. So in this video, we will be discussing about the topic of exponential and logarithmic functions. Before beginning, let us have a look into exponential function and logarithmic functions separately, and then we will compare the two, see their graphs, have a good graphical understanding. And even prior to that, let us see one more thing, may be a little bit confusing. For example, there are two functions fx equals to 3 to the power x and gx equals to x cube. So what is the difference between these two? This is an exponential function and this is a polynomial function. There is a big difference between exponential function and polynomial function. The function gx equals to x cube is a polynomial function. Here, the variable x is raised by a constant power, whereas the function 3 power x is an exponential function. The variable is an exponent. That is, the exponent is the variable over here. But here, the exponent is a constant. In exponential function, the base is a constant, but in polynomial function, the base is a variable. So this is the key difference between these two functions. So in general, we represent an exponential function as like this, that fx equals to a power x. Previously, I told you that a cannot be 0 or a cannot be 1, and a has to be greater than 0. So now let us understand that what is the reason of such limitations. First, if f if your a is fx equals to 0 power x. Now whatever the value of x you put, the output will always be 0. Therefore, the output is always independent of the input and the output is a mere constant. That's why we avoid the base a equals to 0. Now let us look that why we do not take 1. The reason is similar, that if your base is 1, then fx equals to 1 power x, and 1 power anything will give you 1. Therefore, we avoid the values of base as these two values because they give us just mere constants. Now let us understand that why we do not take a as a negative value and why we always prefer a to be more than 0. So why do we avoid negative numbers in the base? For example, let us take the value of a to be suppose minus 9. Okay, so fx will be minus 9 raised to the power x. Now x can be any value, so x can also be 0.5. This will result into minus 9 to the power half, that is root over minus 9. So this isn't a real number anymore. A negative base, if a is less than 0, may give rise to complex number. We want only real numbers to arise from a function, so to make sure of this, we do not take a to be negative, because if a given function sometimes give a real number and sometimes gives a complex number, then we cannot plot it in a single rectangular coordinate system. So this is a rough example that how the graph of an exponential function looks. To draw an sample graph, we took the value of a to be 2 and then we gave various inputs of x. First we gave 0, then 1, 2, 3. As you see that if we take the value of x to be approaching towards infinity, the value of y also tends towards infinity and even at a faster rate. So this is an increasing function. And what is an increasing function? That for every x2 more than x1, fx2 shall be greater than fx1. Here we took the value of a to be more than 0. Of course, that is the domain, and in particular we took the value to be more than 1. That gave us an increasing function. We will also look the case when a shall be greater than 0 but lesser than 1. Let us have a more detailed look at the graph of an exponential function. So this is the graph of a power x, or to be particular, currently the value of a is 2. Therefore, this is the graph of 2 to the power of x. As you see, I have plotted some points for a better visualization, and you can see that a small change in x, like we are going from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, then 3, 4, 5, the change in y is gradually increasing. This is actually the nature of any exponential curve. So now we will see that why we do not take the value of a to be 1. If you would have taken the value of a to be 1, you can see over here the value of a is 1. For any value of x, the output will only be 1. Now let us take the value of a to be 0. If you take the value of a to be 0, you see the red line is merging with the x-axis. That is, for any value of x, the output is always 0. Therefore, if you take the base as 0 or 1, these are not exponential curve. These are just mere constants. That's why initially I have said you that a shall not be 0 or 1. Now let us see if you take a value of a to be more than 1. Suppose we are taking the value of a to be 3, right? So you can see the value of a to be 3. Now if I increase the value of a, actually you will see the graph is getting more and more steeper and steeper. Are you noticing the change? And if you increase the value of a too much, the graph will become too much steep. That is, for a very small change of x, the change in y will be very large. Now let us see that what happens if we take a value less than 1 but more than 0, right? I have shown you the example that it becomes a decreasing function. Now let's see that graphically. Are you noticing the nature of the graph has changed? Currently the value of a is suppose 0.6. It is a value less than 1 but more than 0. So you can see the value of x is gradually decreasing. The value of fx is gradually decreasing with increasing value of x. This is an example of decreasing function. So now let us see that, do you remember I told you earlier that the value of a cannot be negative. I also told you that y it shall not be negative, because for some values of x we will get a output as complex number. So now let's take a to be suppose -4. Oh, is it a glitch? No, the graph is not drawn. Actually, you cannot plot an exponential curve with a negative base in the real axis, because suppose here a is -4 and suppose the value of x is half. Therefore, it becomes root over -4. The outcome is 2i, which is a complex number, and you cannot plot a complex number in the real axis. You need a different plane known as the Argand plane to plot a complex number. Therefore, I think it is very clear to you now why we do not take negative values of a, and why we do not take the value of a to be 0, and why we do not take the value of a to be 1. The nature of the curve changes if you take a value from 0 to 1, and it's a different nature if you take the value to be more than 1. I hope this graphical explanation has made the concept crystal clear to you. So let us now understand graphically the meaning of domain and range. Well, when we defined that fx equals to a power x is an exponential function, we told that a will be more than 0 and a will not be equal to 1. And I explained you the reasons that why these are the limitations. We also told that the domain of the function is x belongs to R, that is the set of entire real numbers, and the range is fx belongs to 0 to infinity, where 0 is not included. The open bracket means that this value, this beginning value, is not included. So now let us understand graphically what does this domain and range mean. Actually, domain is the input we give to a function and range is the output we get from a function. So any value of x you input over there is the domain, and here we do not have any restrictions over the domain. We can input any real number into the domain, and the output that the function gives us for the values of x is known as the range. So now let us look that how can we understand graphically what does domain and range mean. Domain is actually the projection of the graph along the x-axis. So if you take a light source from the top, this graph will cast a shadow, and this shadow shall overlay the entire x-axis, because this graph is continuous even this side also and even backward side also. This graph is entirely continuous. So if you cast a shadow, it will overlay the entire x-axis. That's why we have said that the domain is x belongs to R. Now yes, you guessed it right, that for the range we will take a projection of the graph along the y-axis. So take a light source over here. If the light falls on this like this, it will cast a shadow over the y-axis. As there is no part of the graph below the x-axis, therefore there shall be no shadow of the graph in this region. That's why we get the range of the function to be from 0 to infinity. That is, we always have a positive outcome, and it is very clear from this figure also. So this is how we understand the domain and range graphically. Well, graphs are fun, aren't they? So let's see what else we can observe from the graphs. Like I have shown you earlier, the graph of fx, where fx is 2 power x, is of this type, right? And the graph of fx, where fx is 2 to the power minus x, or you can rewrite it as 0.5 power x, is of this type. Key differences in the nature of these two graphs. Graph, as you see, if we increase the value of x, the value of y also increases. So this graph is an increasing graph. Thus this function is an increasing function. And in this graph, if you increase the value of x, the value of y gradually falls. This is an example of decreasing function. So what do we exactly mean by that? That for any, suppose let me show you first that suppose this is x1 and suppose this is x2. x2 is greater than x1, it is evident from the graph, as well as fx2 is more than fx1. This is the real identity of an increasing function, or the definition of an increasing function. Whereas in decreasing function, let us take same, let this be x1 and let this be x2. We can again see that x2 is greater than x1, but the scenario is different. fx2 is actually smaller than fx1. This is the definition or the identity, real identity of a decreasing function. After seeing the graph of 2 power x and 2 power minus x, you must be thinking that these two graphs are quite symmetric, right? Because the graph of 2 power x was something like this, and the graph of 2 power minus x was something like this. So you must be thinking that they look quite similar, but just a little bit of change. And yes, that change even teaches us another thing. Graphs teach us a lot of things. So let us plot these two graphs all together. This was your 2 power x graph, and this was your 2 power minus x graph, right? So you can see that these two graphs are actually the mirror images of each other with respect to the y-axis. This is not only the case for these two graphs, it is the case for every such graph in which one function is fx and the other function is f of minus x. When we have such two functions, these two functions are actually the mirror images with respect to y-axis. So if you have a graph of fx, you can draw the graph of f of minus x just by reflecting with respect to the y-axis and vice versa. So this is quite an important observation to notice. This one is of increasing nature and this one is of decreasing nature. I hope this observation has given you something new to understand. So with the knowledge of graphical understanding we got till now, let us solve an interesting question. The question is, find the number of solutions of the following equation. The equation is 2x minus 3 into 2 to the power x equals to 1. So you may pause the video right now and give it a try yourself. Right. So now let me discuss the solution in detail and we will get the solution of this question graphically. It shall be quite interesting. See, you can rewrite this question as 2x minus 3 equals to 1 by 2 to the power x. Right. You can even modify it that 2x minus 3 equals to 2 to the power minus x. So if we draw the graph of these two functions, that is the LHS 2x minus 3, which is what? Which is a straight line. And if we draw the graph of this, an exponential function, and find that how many times these two graphs cut each other, then we will get the answer of the question above. So let us draw the graph of y equals to 2x minus 3. Y equals to 2x minus 3. So let us understand this by the intercept method. 2x minus y equals to 3. X by 3 by 2 minus y by 3 equals to 1, or we can write it as plus y by minus 3 equals to 1. So now let this graph be drawn over here. The intercept of x is 3 by 2, that is 1.5. So let us plot something like this: 1 2 3 4, and over here 1 2 3. The intercept of x is 1.5, therefore it will be somewhere here, and the intercept of y is minus 3 over here. So if you join these 2 points and draw a line, that will give us the graph of 2x minus 3. So you need to join these 2 lines. That's quite a straight line, I guess. Now you need to draw the graph of 2 power minus x. So this will be a decreasing function, and I just now saw you what is the nature of the graph. So this graph would come somewhat like this. It will not touch the x-axis. That the x-axis is actually its asymptote. You will learn later on that what is asymptote. So we see that these two graphs cut only at a single point. And as the graphs cut at a single point, we can say that the number of solutions to this equation is 1. So this is our answer. So this is a quite interesting way to approach the questions. In this, we don't have to write much. We just need to have the graphical understanding and we will get to the solution quick. So now let's have an understanding about logarithms. Logarithm sounds too long, right? Let's call it log. Well, to begin with logarithm or log, I will suggest you to remember one key example. If you are just beginning, that will help you to not be confused actually. So let us is 2 to the power 5 equals to 32. If you write this in terms of log, what does this look like? This will look something like this, that log 32 base 2 equals to 5. So we can see that if you raise 2 to the power of 5, that is the quintic power of 5, you get 32. And in the format of log, we write that log 32 base 2 equals to 5. So what does that mean? That what power of the base you have to rise so as to get this number. That is the answer of your log. Let us take another example. Log 100 base 10. What will be this value? Think. What power we must rise of this base so we will get 100. So 10 to the power how much is actually 100? 10 to the power 2 is 100, that is 10 square. So log 100 base 10 equals to 2. Similarly, if you take log 1000 base 10, what will be? Yes, you answered it correct, it is 3. Now let us take log 8 base 2 root 2. What power we have to give to 2 root 2 to become 8? It's actually 2. Because if you multiply 2 root 2 twice, that is 2 root 2 square, it will come to 2 2s are 4, and root 2 will make another 2. 4 2s are, it will make 8. So this is 2. Primary basic crude understanding of logarithm, or in short log. So now let's formally define log. Suppose fx is a function that is log of x base a. So here the domain of this function is, the domain is 0 to infinity, and the range is r. The range is r, and a must be more than 0 and a should not be equal to 1. Are you having a sort of deja vu that we saw something like this quite a few minutes earlier? Yes, you actually saw, but that was a little bit different. Now let me tell you actually what was the difference. Now let us have the understanding of the graph of log. But for understanding the graph of log, we will take a different approach. We already know the graph of a to the power x, right? And we will extrapolate the things, and we will also make the graph of log x base a from this graph only. Let us see how we do that. This is our rectangular coordinate system, and we take our popular line y equals to x. This is a very popular line in case of inverse functions actually. Now let us draw the graph of a power x. I am taking the case when a is actually more than 1. So the graph is something like this, right? This is your y-axis, this is the x-axis of course. As I told you that the exponential function and the logarithmic functions are inverse of each other, and I have shown you the reason, that the domain and range are interchanged. I also gave you an example just few minutes of the points 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2. In this also the x and y were interchanged, and what result did we get? We saw that the points are actually mirror images of each other with respect to the line y equals to x. The same is the case with the graph, with the total graph of a power x and log x base a. So if you take the reflection of this point will come somewhere over here, this will come over here, this will come over here, here, and again the distance will broaden. Now if you connect the dots, connecting dots, right? If you draw it, this is actually the nature of the graph log x base a, and this is your a power x, and this is y equals to x. These are actually the mirror images of each other with respect to the line y equals to x. This y equals to x line acts as a plane mirror and gives us the two graphs as a reflection of one another. So this is quite an interesting way to approach the graph of inverse functions. If you know the graph of one function, and if you need to find the graph of its inverse function, just find the mirror image of that graph with respect to y equals to x. Let us have a detailed analysis of the inverse function graph mirroring. So first you can see over here that the points 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2 and the other points on your screen are actually mirror images with respect to the line y equals to x. You can see this line y equals to x, and you can see the points to be just mirror images. This line y equals to x acts as a plane mirror. So now let's take the example of the exponential curve and the logarithmic curve. Well, you can see this green curve over here is the exponential curve. It is the curve of y equals to e power x, and this blue curve is the curve y equals to ln x. So these are actually the inverse function of one another, and you can see that these are just the mirror images of each other. I think this graphical explanation is making things quite a bit clearer to you. Let's zoom in and let's consider a point. Suppose this point is 0, 1, right? It is lying on the curve e power x. Its exact mirror image, if you move, is this one. And what is this point? Yes, it's 1, 0. See, 0, 1 and 1, 0 are the mirror images of one another. Like that, every point, if you take a mirror image of each other, you will find that the ordinate and the abscissa are interchanged. This is actually the fundamental case in every inverse function, that they are mirror images of one another with respect to the line y equals to x. I think I am being clearer to you with this detailed explanation. So after having the graphical understanding of logarithms and exponential in quite a detail, now let me tell you some key points which are essential sometimes. Sometimes if you are told that take common log. Now what is common log? Common log is actually a log with base as 10. The base of the log is a very important point of concern, because the value of log changes if you change the base. And the other one is natural logarithm. What is natural logarithm? It's actually log x base e, or this is written by convention as ln x. If you are told ln x, it is predefined that the base of the log is e. And for all the graphs of logarithm, we also notice that all the graphs pass through the point 1, 0. Why so? Suppose you have log x base a and you write log 1, a. So what power of a you must rise so that you get a 1? We know that anything to the power of 0 will give us 1. Therefore, a to the power 0 shall give us 1 equals to 0. Therefore, 1, 0 is the point that every graph of logarithm satisfies. So there are few fundamental theorems of log which we shall be covering in our next video in detail. We will also solve questions based on those fundamental properties of log. By fundamental properties, I mean that suppose this property log a plus log b, if both the bases are same, will give rise to log ab. This is one of the fundamental properties of log. We will study about them in detail, and let me show you an example of a sum which we can solve using those fundamental properties. This is just like a trailer for the next video actually. Suppose you are told that y equals to 2 to the power 1 by log 4 base x. Y equals to 2 to the power 1 by log 4 base x. Find x in terms of y. In this sum, if you are not understanding this sum and the way I do, you may skip it for now, but obviously you will understand this if you see the next video on logarithms. We take log on both sides. This gives 1 by log 4 base x log 2, and we can solve it as log y equals to this log 4 base x will convert to log x by log 4, and log 4 can be written as 2 log 2. Don't worry, you will understand all this in the next video. So you cut this both log 2, transfer this 2 over here, so this transforms to log y square equals to x, actually log x. And now if you remove log from both the sides, you find x equals to y square. So if this example made no sense to you, just attend my next video, and I am quite sure that the next time you see this example, this wouldn't be all Greek to you. And if you want such sums and understanding of the fundamental theorems of logarithm, then I hope to see you in my next video.